met. My name is Scott Heisel. I'm the managing editor of Alternative Press. I'm joined here to my left, your right, or depending on how you're looking at your monitor, by Andrew McMahon, formerly of Jack's Mannequin. Formerly. Let's start talking about that right now. First off, you are in Cleveland on this beautiful rainy day.
I am.
What brings you to Cleveland, and how does that relate to Jack's Mannequin, if at all?
I mean, it doesn't exactly, but I guess it does in some ways. So there's a
That's deep.
All
right.
Yeah. No. Well, actually, I've been running around just kind of doing a million different things, but recording as much as I can, and just trying to get in the studio and stretch and sort of start working on new stuff. And Jim Wirt, who's produced stuff for me for years and years and years, did all the Something Corporate records, the first two Jack's Mannequin records. Happens to have a studio here in Cleveland. So he called me and he said, I've got this new place I'm working at, you gotta come out. And so truthfully, I came out here and we are doing cover songs. I had 2 days in between other sessions, and I was like, all right, let's do it. And so kind of came in here with a couple classic tunes that I dig, and we've been just kind of messing around in the studio.
So we should say that these cover songs you're making will be released as Andrew McMahon tracks, not as Jack's Mannequin tracks, because apparently Jack's Mannequin is being in the process of being put to rest.
Yeah, and I mean it's so funny. I feel like it's a weird thing because Jack's Mannequin really started as my thing that I didn't just want to put my name on because I was just sort of almost too shy or too embarrassed to do so. And it certainly developed into a band, and certainly a couple of band members who are in Jack's Mannequin will probably move on with me to play with me under my own name too.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I think it's almost more of a conceptual ending to Jack's Mannequin. It's not so much I'm not making music or I'm not creating, as much as it's just I'm ready to kind of shift gears and get myself out of the headspace that I was in while I was in Jack's Mannequin.
It's only because, like you said, it's literally you. Just
right.
It's not like Something Corporate, which was always defined as a 4-person band, 5-person band. So, did you think you were kind of making much ado about nothing by saying you were putting it on ice for the time being? Or, in your mind, what is the delineation between Jack's Mannequin and what you're going to be doing now as Andrew McMahon?
Well, I think, if you look at Something Corporate, I look at Something Corporate, those are my high school, almost my coming of age years in a lot of ways. That was the band that I played with as a kid that I grew up with, and that we grew up together. And in a lot of ways, when I started Jack's, it was kind of taking that next step, into making music on my own and making music with new people and sort of what that looked like. Because when you're in a band with your best friends from high school and that blows up, it's that's a very definitive kind of moment in your life. And Jack's was sort of the next chapter that needless to say, a lot changed in my life in Jack's. I made that first record, and to me that was such an amazing, important moment. And then getting sick in the middle of that process, and how that affected my creativity and my both my personal confidence and my creative confidence, and how that ultimately impacted the music that I made. It's hard to say that it wasn't woven through every inch of what I created as a part of Jack's Mannequin, whether that was with the guys in my band or by myself in a room writing songs or recording them. It was always I think attached to this moment in my life, and I think to some extent, moving on from it was just saying that thread is officially done, and that I'm ready to sort of step out and again kind of get out of my comfort zone and meet new people and create in new ways and not even just music, but write words in different forms and take pictures and whatever that means, but experience art in kind of a new exciting way, I suppose.
Okay. So we're about a year removed right now from the release of the last Jack's Mannequin record. Came out last October.
Yeah.
Now, given the passage of time, is there anything about that record that you are unhappy with or would have liked to change, or do you think that was representing your vision at the time?
No, I would never say I regret creating anything I create. The thing I love about it, everything I've made, is that I feel like it's been so honest to the place that I was in. And I try always to say, even when flaws or things that I wouldn't be proud of showing up on a record, or I think that I'm not proud of at the time, most of the time I go back and I'm like, yeah, that is me at that moment. I think there were certainly a lot of things that happened during the making of that record that I wish hadn't. There's a lot of factors of the way business plays into music and into art, period. When you make things for a living, that the purpose is you're eventually going to release them in some commercial form or another. Who you associate with and how you associate with them ends up creeping its way into your process. for me, I think for years, like I've known I've like never been a guy who belongs on a major record label, you know, and it's not because I don't love everybody that I've worked with at those labels, you know, but I think on some level, having to factor that into the creative process is like, it's a pain in the ass, you know what I mean? Like, you know, and taking nothing away from it. Like, I own the fact that like I signed every deal that I've ever done, you know, and I would never like blame or fault, you know, anybody in the process, you know, for the way that they handled themselves. I just think I realized in the process of making that record is like, you know, people that I'd worked with for years no longer worked at the record company anymore, and it was like, you know, you have to adopt a whole new staff and a whole new system in the middle of making something that for you is so important. That's a tricky thing to do, you know, and again, like not speaking negatively to anybody that I've worked with along the way, but just, you know, I think that was really hard for me because, you know, at my label, I lost my whole support system there in the middle of making the last album. So I think that was really hard on me, and that was a really tricky thing to sort of pivot and make work in the middle of creating a record. And I think we did a great job, and my band was amazing through it. They worked with me, and we pulled out a record that I am really proud of, and I think is great music. But certainly at the time that I finished it, it was like, all right, like I'm ready not to make music this way anymore. I'm ready to like carve out my own niche and make my own path, and let the music lead always, and let the business come second. Always.
Well, it's interesting you bring that stuff up, because over the past few weeks since the Jack's Mannequin news kind of came out, you've been kind of sneaking out these songs here and there on your website, and that can get a lot of major label artists in trouble, is posting the music that, you know, might be controlled by somebody else. I guess the question is, are you still a part of that major label system, or are you now an independent artist again?
No, I'm an independent artist.
You are? All right.
Yeah, no, I am. I mean, you know, that's why this you know, recently I was able to put out this Wrecking Ball Heart song, because it was a song that was created you know, after the term of my contract, and it was exciting and kind of scary and invigorating to be able to say like, wow, like I have this song, like I can get it mixed and
do whatever you want.
And for me it was like, it seemed like, because that's how Jack started. I mean, I made the first Jack's Mannequin record without a record company. You know, it was I had a deal with Universal, and I was, you know, and I was released to make an album on my own. And I did, and I spent every last dollar that I had in my bank account making everything in transit, and that was scary, but it was like, it really put my feet on the fire, and it said like, you have to create something that you love, and it doesn't matter what you're spending or what you're doing, because this is like your art form, this is what matters to you. And then I brought that to, you know, a label so that they could help me put it out. And it's not to say like in some capacity maybe that won't happen with what I do next. I certainly feel like I'm in a different place where, and that the music industry is in a different place where maybe I won't have to do that, or maybe there's some other version of that. But when it got to the point where it's like, wow, we're going to get to create this last Jack's Mannequin song the same way the first Jack's Mannequin song was created, like just in the studio with friends, because there's some cool song that you've got sitting in some demo you had sitting around, and a producer who's fired up who wants to record it. It was kind of inspiring, and to get to throw it up online and say like, this is a thank you. You don't have to buy this from us. This isn't about commerce. This isn't about, you know, us lining our pockets, or, you know, or attempting to, at least. You know, this is about, you know, what you guys have given to us. We'll give you something back. You know?
I got a girl